So, welcome back to the third episode of Artful Leadership. Artful Leadership is really about promoting artist leaders who are transforming the lives of youth through transformative engagement and creative youth development. And my consulting business is all about inspiring, equipping, and empowering those leaders to do their best work. And in this interview series, we're touching base with all kinds of incredible people in the San Diego community who are doing wonderful work. So today we're going to talk to Nate Howard, and I'm super excited to see what he has to say and all the cool stuff that he's working on. I'm super excited. Today we're going to be talking to Nate Howard, who is the founder of Movement B and is also an accomplished spoken word poet and motivational speaker. And Movement B is really an incredible organization that is going into schools predominantly to inspire kids of color to really tell their stories before others do. These are kids that are up against often a very negative story in the community and in the media and in our society. And he's doing incredible work to inspire them to take ownership of their story, tell who they are before others do, and really take ownership of their destiny. So I'm super excited to talk to him today. If you haven't had a chance to hear him speak or perform his poetry, you're missing out because he's really an incredibly inspiring guy. Well, welcome to the Artful Leadership interview series. I'm super excited to have you on today and tell people a little bit about you and the great work that you're doing. So I was wondering if you could start by just telling us a little bit about who you are and what is Movement B, and what are some exciting things you're working on.
Definitely. So thank you for having me. Nate Howard, a poet, educator, social entrepreneur. And Movement B is, really based off these ideas of how we use storytelling, creative writing, specifically poetry, to give voice to the unacknowledged world. And we do that specifically with youth, young people, and supporting them through workshops that help them find their voice and challenge them to go out and be their true story.
Right. So I know you have a pretty intense story yourself that kind of inspired you to do this work. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got into this business of storytelling and really telling your story?
Definitely. I mean, I've been doing poetry, since elementary school. But growing up, I didn't understand what it meant to be a creative. So I was always stereotyped. And so really the root of this is based off this idea of trying to find my true identity.
Right.
It exploded when I was a first generation college student at the University of Southern California, and being at a predominantly white institution, where this idea of, wait a minute, you're not on the USC football team, you're not playing basketball, or this idea of trying to prove my identity and trying to understand what it means to be a young African-American male in today's society, and what people perceive this individual to be and how am I supposed to show up. So the big incident that really kind of sparked everything, which led up to this, which I call pretty much the microaggressions of just society and the comments you try to not reinforce. The big incident happened when I was throwing a party my last day of classes at USC. The party was organized. We had security. Everything was put together. But around 2 o'clock in the morning, as the party was coming to an end, officers told us to shut down the party, which we did. But meanwhile, there was another party going on across the street who were friends of mine, the mainly white partygoers. Officers told them to stay in the house and be safe while they handled us across the street, mainly the students of color. So 79 LAPD officers actually showed up to my house in riot gear. I was handcuffed that night. Numerous other people from our party were handcuffed and arrested. They made a barricade on my street, 23rd and Hoover. And it was just like a real wake-up call, which I felt was just unnecessary, the way that they handled it, the way our university handled it. And I think I grew up with this idea of like, all right, go to college, get your education, and you'll get past racism, discrimination, or, all of these different things. I'm glad that it did happen because it was a reminder that it's not about getting a certain amount of degrees, or it's not about uh, achieving the American dream status quo and you will be free from all issues. And so, we had a protest the next day on campus. We made national news. We really kind of pushed this movement. And then, the news cycle was on to the next story. So I had to realize again that you have to tell your own story. And so that's what brought me back to San Diego, went to my old high school, Helix High, and we started pretty much Be the Voice, which is the model for Movement B today as an after-school program teaching young people poetry.
Right, right. So tell me a little bit about, like, what schools are you in now, and who's your team?
Yeah.
Who do you have doing this incredible work with you?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's building. I mean, it started with me, kind of just building after schools, and now what's exciting is one of the main examples of the model is that one of my instructors was my first student. Terrence Carter, who was my first student at Helix back in 2013, has now graduated from college from Grand Canyon University, came back to San Diego, and now he's working with me doing workshops in some of our partner schools. He now does all the workshops at Helix High, along with another instructor named Majane. So the Helix program is building, and it happens every Tuesday, and it's running there. For our other schools, we're now starting a new project with Primetime. And so with Primetime Elementary and middle schools in San Diego Unified. So I've identified brave entrepreneurs. That's what BE stands for, brave entrepreneur. In the essence, we want individuals just to be, but the model of instructors these aren't individuals who work for Movement B full-time. I have no full-time staff. These are all independent contractors, creative consultants who have their own entrepreneurial endeavors, and I support them in bringing their entrepreneurial creative ideas, through Movement B to teach workshops in our partner schools.
So they can also be like really powerful role models to the students of really creating their own world or whatever impact that they want to create.
No, definitely. And I always, challenge the idea. It's hard to teach entrepreneurship in school.
Yeah.
Because teachers not necessarily aren't full-time entrepreneurs.
Right. And no, they're not. They're employees.
So, and I think that's what's interesting about what we're trying to do in attempt, because I think that's, one of the instructors, he's a barber, he owns his own barber shop, and so when he's not cutting, he's going to go teach a workshop, for an hour. So he has a different perspective and a different way to kind of approach the students, which I think is needed.
Yeah. So last time we talked, you were telling me that you guys had also developed your own app.
Yes.
That you're using, which is just such a great way to reach youth in our social media day and age. How is that going?
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think we've learned a lot. I think when we first started, the goal was like, we're the next, dream big, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's great to have big ideas and dreams like that. But then to kind of come back a little bit and say, I dreamed that big with that vision intent, but who are we really focused on? Like, because there's already a Facebook, there's already Instagram, there's already these things. So trying to kind of create a platform with a different tone is not necessarily the goal. What really has been the power is it being a tool. So I think we first said, all right, go on there and post your story. Well, you can post your story on Facebook or Twitter, as mentioned, but using Movement B as a tool during the workshop is what makes it so interactive. So typically you take a workshop, a classroom, whatever it may be, and you have an assignment for the day. Students may pull out a piece of paper, write their poem, creative story, whatever it may be, and turn it into the teacher. And then that's it. With Movement B, it changes the whole interaction of the classroom, because students are now in the class typing their poems and stories, and then boom, instantly you can see everybody's story. And so it makes it more interactive where it's not here a teacher's giving a grade and giving it back. The whole classroom can now interact, comment on each other's poems and post, and then gives a great tool and space to share in front of the class on the screen ahead. So that's really kind of the model and base of the platform at this point.
Yeah, well, it seems like, well, what I know about youth is it helps so much when they know that they're not alone and they have a place to connect to other youth that are telling their stories and their experiences. And that's so empowering when they know I'm a part of a community. And when I take a risk and put my stuff out there and somebody else does, now we're stronger together because we're both doing this. And social media or like apps and things can be such a safe place for kids to do that, because sometimes just getting up and doing it for the first time can be pretty scary. So I guess using an app to like just kind of get comfortable getting your stuff out there in a supportive community can be like a great launching point.
Definitely. Some youth can be anonymous. You know, you can change your name. It is not dependent on a number of likes or the number of followers you have, which is a huge problem for our generation. You know I struggle with that. I think other adults are starting to struggle with it when they think about their brands and business and what they want to create and the number of views, and everything is based off this number of how much attention am I getting, and so some people try to find gimmicks and all types of things to try to find influence or to be noticed. And so we'll start to see, and we're already starting to see those kids who feel isolated, who don't feel like they get enough attention. They're going to try to use social media to try to get the most attention as possible. And that's going to be, continue to be problematic until we kind of figure out ways to deal with it.
Right. So how long have you guys been doing these programs now?
So, the program started in 2013, but, and me personally from my story with Monarch, in this sense, I would say the philosophy has really been carried with me wherever I've gone. So when I graduated 2013, came back to Helix, I was still working as an academic coach at Helix while doing those programs after school, but building the whole movement B philosophy. And then after Helix, when I started working at Monarch, same thing, right? When I was kind of doing teaching in some of the middle school classes and kind of working with some of the PE students.
Yeah.
Same kind of philosophy of like what I've been creating with Movement B, teaching poetry and kind of using this creative expression. And then in 2016, when I kind of decided to go full time, it really was one-off workshops here and there. Could we do a program here for 8 weeks? There's opportunity here. And we're still kind of flowing in that model until most recently where, okay, we have an opportunity with Prime Time. We're going to do 5 schools with the elementary and middle schools in San Diego Unified. We have our Helix program, and then we're going to start at Kearney Mesa, actually. And then we've done other schools, Morris, Lincoln, but they've one-offs here and there. So still trying to find more of a consistency, and I think we're going to find that more coming up this year.
Yeah, well, it seems like having partners like that is going to be really helpful, having those bigger powerhouse partners that have all these network of people that you can work with. That's really cool. So, you're still in the process of like developing consistency, but in the places where you guys have been, what kind of changes do you see for the kids from like when they start to where they end with you, or if they keep a relationship with you over time? What kind of changes are you seeing for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. One student in particular that comes to mind, she started with the program at Morris High School, and the poems that she was posting on the app, were kind of suicidal. It was to a point where we had to call the school psychologist and said, hey, these poems look pretty alarming. Can you call her or family and see what's going on? And, there was a time where she wasn't answering her phone, and this is a poem on the app. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't like the way this ended. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, we had to be mandated reporters in that sense, and that was figured out. But she kept posting, and she kept posting, and if you look at her post from 2 years ago to look at her post now, you can literally see the difference. You can literally see the difference. Her posts now are, I'm excited. I just want to be happy. I'm living my life, and her poems are more just, you can feel,
Hopeful.
yeah, hopeful, and that's the power where I'm seeing with the platform. It's like, all right, we haven't figured this all out, but when I look at things like that, it's like we gave a workshop at her school and we've had programs here and there, but we're not there all the time. But she knows she still has this outlet where, hey, I can post and I know somebody from Movement B is going to comment, see this, show love. So we've really set the tone in that sense.
So
That's
once
one.
you get on the app, and they're in that community forever.
Yes.
And they can access that whenever they want or however long they want. So that keeps them connected to that work. That's really cool.
Exactly. And the tone is very set. I think that's what's been powerful about it. It's that really kind of keeping the branding of Movement be positive and uplifting in that sense. Because it's not just an open platform for you to come and spew hate or kind of say any negativity. Yes, it's an open platform to express yourself, but it's very supported in the tone of these are for students who have been voiceless, who have been left out, so it really comes from the root of those voices that really need to be heard. So those voices don't get, overshadowed or whatever it may be.
Right. Right. Very cool. So do you guys ever do like showcases or anything where youth can share their work, or what is that looking like?
Yeah. So that's what's been building. We had our first or inaugural Be the Voice celebration last year at San Diego Library. And that's the plan to kind of get it prepared again for June. There's been showcases at partner schools. But the goal is, and what's been exciting is like I kind of grew up in the slam poetry, open mic scene in San Diego, and there was never a youth space for it. You always had to be like 18 or they're late at night, so your parents couldn't get you. So, wanting to kind of create something more in that sense for youth in San Diego, not so much around the competition of it, not so much of like it needing to be a slam and the students go on to compete other places, but more of a open space for youth to, creatively share their poetry, their art, their music, and fill that space for it. So that is something we're working on and trying to figure out what's the best way to bring all of these youth together from these programs to share their work.
Very cool. So, do you feel connected to other artists in San Diego who are doing similar work? Do you have resources? Like, who's your crew that's with you on all of this?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, and I think that's why I'm, with the idea of the showcase, it's like I imagine it to be more collaborative, trying to figure out who are already doing some of these things, how to kind of connect some of these spaces. And even creatively, I've been trying to figure out how to, going to school at USC and being in LA, I understand the art and creative expression in that space too. And I've been, in some ways, like I just came back from LA yesterday. I was up there during the day, came back during the day. It's not that far.
Wow.
And so part of me creatively, professionally and personally, you're saying, how do I kind of merge both these worlds together and kind of create, this is SoCal, Southern California, San Diego, LA, there's all of this art together. So that's what I've been really trying to figure out and work on, because sometimes I just feel it's like, all right, there's San Diego and here's the San Diego creatives and arts, and then there's LA, and we all know LA to be, all right, big Hollywood mecca of art and creative, but there should be more respect for the Southern California region together and how we kind of come together.
Yeah. One thing that since I've kind of poked my head up as I'm developing my little consulting business and getting my head out of Monarch, is I've gotten connected with the San Diego Creative Youth Development Network. And I've just been kind of curious if you'd be interested in knowing more about that. It's a network of all the artist organizations that are working with youth, similar to what we do, what you do, and they have a network where they get together and they do trainings together and they go to conferences and they have meetings, and it's just a really cool community of artists who are working together, and then they are able to like set standards together and learn how to evaluate their programs together. And I'm going to be doing a series of trainings for them. And you came to mind because I think there's some people in there that you already know. But it's a really great community of folks who are doing what we do, which is really reaching youth through the arts, after school, through workshops, through showcases, all those kinds of things. So I can send you that info, but they're growing and expanding that network, and just doing a lot of really cool stuff, connecting artists and art leaders in San Diego. I know one of the things you and I also talked about was how important it is to keep your own artist alive. And I know you have like a whole other world of you developing yourself as an artist. And I was just curious, like, what's going on with that part of you? How's that going?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been going well. Like I said, I just got back from LA. We just recorded some more music, and it's been interesting because it's been trying to figure out how to, I guess, live in both worlds and try to kind of release music that's, I don't know, for however else best to say it, right? Okay, if I'm have some profanity in my music because that's me and that's how I speak, trying to still be like, oh, but I'm this, nonprofit leader with youth. But just, I guess I'm trying to break the rules and maybe it's just in my own mind of being, it's okay. Like, it's not like it's vulgar to the sense of, wow, you do this work with youth and this is what you're saying, in your music, but I think it speaks to like the issues that we all deal with, like relationships, like, we have a song just talking about the issues and back and forth of fighting and dealing with things that are toxic, and what words are said during those times. And how do you censor that? It's just what happens.
Right. And the arts and music are a container for those experiences. They're like, it's a safe place to put those experiences and reflect about it. So yeah, how do you do that with integrity as a leader of youth? I can see.
Definitely. So that's some of the personal battle I'm dealing with. I think I'll slowly figure it out. But I'm hoping for the day when it can coexist, where it's, where I don't have to question my thoughts and what I'm feeling, and still at the same time, this is part of curriculum, a part of how we teach youth, because they understand it and know that already, I think in our way of education and how we teach things, we find filters or safe ways to say it, so that we keep these teenagers who are already kind of adult-like, kind of, whoa, I didn't say it that way. So just trying to figure out that balance.
Right. So, and how do you feel like your art informs you as an educator?
Yeah.
When you're doing your curriculum with the youth, how does your artwork inform that process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It keeps it very authentic. It keeps it very authentic. If at any time my art is not authentic, then it's become, I think of it as, this commercial or like, standard curriculum that doesn't change. Like, if you can't look at a lesson or curriculum or education and if you can't find some current event or some kind of current experience to relate it to, then you're not using your art to inform this, right? It's not. It becomes just standard, without any application of your creativity and how you looked at it, your perspective. Like I can only teach from my story because it's my experience, and then I can only ask students and everybody in this space to relate their story to what this lesson is,
Right.
and that's art.
Right. So like rigorously accessing your own experience through your art keeps your curriculum and your work with youth alive and relevant and engaging. Yeah. Yeah.
And they see that I'm human, and they see that all of us, that we're imperfect beings, and we're all just sharing the experience.
Right.
I may be the facilitator, but any turn of events, you could be the facilitator as well, right? And your story to share your perspective on this all, so we can all learn.
Yeah, that's super cool. So do you have any like artists, leaders, or musicians or poets that really inspire you right now, that push you or stretch your thinking about things?
That's a great question. We just had this event with a poet named David White. Have you heard of him?
Yes, he's one of my favorite poets.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love him.
I knew about him at first. I didn't know, but it was great. We was able to have an event with him, and he really kind of just sparked my mind of like, wow, like I see how he's using his poetry to really just inspire, and uplift people, and get people to really change potentially the way they're thinking of life, and how they're seeing things. So that was just a reminder of why poetry is so important, not in this sense of like what I talked about earlier of like the performance. And yes, the performance is great, but it's not about the idea of how can I outperform the next poet or whatever. It's really about getting back to the root of what these words are saying, how they make you feel, in your soul, how it kind of really gets you to pause and kind of be mindful and to meditate. And so he's very inspirational in that way. And then on the other end, I still look at, an artist like a Kendrick Lamar, or some of these other kind of creatives that, music artists that I listen to, because in that same sense, I'm inspired by them being able to take their art and share it with the masses in a creative way. And I'm hoping to get to that point, however I can, based off, being authentic and who really kind of receives the message. So.
Right. Cool. Well, and I love that range of like David White is this like older Irish man with this like thick Irish brogue, and then Kendrick Lamar, like that's just a wonderful tension between those two artists.
No, you're so right. I love it.
Yeah, I've loved David White for a long time, and his poetry is so meditative and so transformative, and the way that he captures things through these images from nature and stuff that just speak to some sort of universal experience, that's just really lovely. I really love his stuff. So when I saw that you had worked with him, I was like, oh my God, jealous, so cool.
I wish I would have knew, because have you met him before or been to one of his events?
No, I haven't. I've wanted to, but I've never made it to any of his workshops. But
okay, well, no, I'll update you and connect if anything in the future.
Yeah.
I found out through this lady named Karen who's been supporting us, and she was throwing the event, and it was pretty inspiring. So after talking to him, it seems like, all right, we have to stay connected. We have to keep doing these things, because I feel our organization, we were definitely in line with the work that he's doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, if people want to support Movement B or get involved in some way, what is the best way for them to find out about what you're doing?
You can go to movementb.org.
Okay.
And in a simple way, you can just sign up and be a part of the community. That doesn't take anything. That's just you posting your story, you supporting a student or somebody else who shared their story, checking out our activities. We really want people to be part of the platform as it grows and expands, and it's, a universe and community of our own of shared storytelling. Once you log in and sign up, there's going to be the About section in the bottom left corner. And that's where you can, find out more about our programs, what's going on, and you can donate. There's a section to donate, so you can kind of support more of our work. We built this model really off community support and, partnerships with schools and youth organizations. So, we're growing to be a larger organization to continue to build. And then you can also purchase, swag. We have Movement B hoodies, shirts, hats. So, feel free to promote us and share the movement by buying some gear and promoting it out there with your friends and family. So,
yeah. Very cool. Okay, so people can get involved, they can share their story, they can donate, they can buy swag, they can represent. Do you guys ever need volunteers, or do you need other community resources like for your events or anything else?
Yeah, and that's what I think is interesting about a model and the idea of the brave entrepreneur. I think us as creatives, we know how to really kind of add our value based off our creativity. And so it's really about creating the ecosystem of however you kind of see the value of Movement B in your community and the creative arts that you're already doing. How can we partner? How can we collaborate? How can, we work together to put on a showcase, to do a workshop at this school, to, have a music event, whatever it may be. But I think we're at this space really looking more of a creative ecosystem and partnering with just different creatives to showcase their talent, ultimately so that we can get youth to showcase more of their story and creative work.
Right. Very cool. Very cool.
If that answers the question. In regards to volunteers, there's, I guess that's the best way to come by the office, come, talk to us and just figure out, hey, what's the best way to kind of to do this, because we don't.
You guys have your little head. Sorry, I interrupted. What were you saying?
That's it. I was saying because we don't have all the answers, so we're trying to figure out best way to volunteer may be the best way you want to volunteer.
Right. Just something organic kind of coming together. So you guys have your headquarters in Mission Beach?
Yes.
Okay. We've got the B spot.
Okay. So yeah, we're at 1919 Grant Avenue. It's right down the street from Mission Beach High School, Pacific Beach.
And do you guys have youth coming and hanging out there as well? I know that's part of your vision, but I was just curious if that's happening.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think most of our work, specifically with high school students, is at the schools. And now that we're doing prime time, it's at the schools. So I think our vision has been this after school model and this kind of space for youth to come to. But the challenge with that is that I've been trying to figure out specifically for high school students and older students, how do they go to spaces after school, or do we need to just come to them? So if the model is that we need to come to them, then, this is just a headquarters where we kind of really work with those brave entrepreneurs to go out to those schools. And in those senses, when we have kind of some smaller workshops or other events, then those students who need to get here will get here in this time being. We looked at a bigger space, which is by the Encanto Boys and Girls Club, and we're still kind of looking at some of the things there. But everything's kind of up in the air right now based off how we kind of build this business.
Right. Right. And when you have kids from all these communities all over the place, how do you create a central location that makes sense for them to go to or
That's the
whatever?
challenge. Yeah, that's the challenge. That's the challenge because it's, you know, I found this space and it's like a big open space. Uh, but I'm like, I don't know if we can even get that many kids in here right after school because you have kids in sports, you have kids doing all these different things. And
Right.
maybe something to kind of question and dive into more, but maybe that's why it's hard to have a after school model at a center for older students. I see how it works for, you know, elementary and younger students and your parents can pick you up, but if you're older, you're out, you're trying to do things, so I need to get you right before you get off campus.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, totally. You got to snag them. And unless you just have like a regular ongoing open mic event there or some other group that's meeting or whatever. Yeah, it's but you guys are still building so much of this, so that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. So we're learning. I have no idea. I think it's been just exciting, enjoying the journey.
Yeah, cool. Well, do you have any like last words? That most of the folks that are watching these videos are artists like ourselves, or people who are really devoted to working with youth and sharing their art with kids. And I'm just curious if you have like any last word for your watchers today.
Yeah, no, I say, you know, get paid what you're worth. You know, it's very important in our artists kind of space ecosystem, whatever we call it. You know, I'm a valid believer in that, you know, and I believe that, you know, this idea of not like owning who you really are and being afraid of your greatness is what leaves a lot of art, you know, to not be out in the world, to be appreciated, and, you know, for those individuals to, you know, take time to spend more, to doing more of their art. So, and that's really the model of the brave entrepreneur. You know, we're artists, we're creative, but you're going to pay us what we're worth, you know, and we're going to be, you know, and if not, we're not going to work with you. That's fine, you know, but it's really kind of this idea now that, you know, owning your greatness, owning who you are, you know, and us all, we can find a strategic win-win situation.
Right.
And I think, again, with this idea of even like I said, the bridge of San Diego and LA, and just even San Diego specifically, is, yeah, we're not the entertainment mecca. You know, it's not people spending thousands and millions of dollars for your art in this space, but you can pay what you're worth, and we can kind of build a system where, you know, I can do my art and pay the rent and keep it moving, you know?
Right. And have a life of abundance and creating value and having value come back to you, right?
But here's the issue, and that's why I want to talk to the audience in San Diego. It's like, but if you're charging less than what you're worth, then we're not having an audience who's going to start paying, you know, because they don't feel like we have, as a community, have to decide, like, all right, we're worth this, and creating events and opportunities and really kind of speaking on that level so that it's everybody wins, you know? So, you know, and I say that because, you know, I wrote a poem, I Don't Want to Be Another Broke Poet. And, you know, that's what really got me into motivational speaking. And I love motivational speaking, but I'm really a poet. And really, at all my speeches, I'm just doing poems, you know. But I had to really kind of brand as a speaker to really, I think, charge for what I'm worth, you know, because people don't want to pay poets, you know. And so if I can really kind of just realize, like, okay, my poetry is, you know, worth this, just like an art piece is worth this, then, you know, we can set the price and be able to do what we want to do fully, you know.
Right. And I think that was brilliant on your part, because like I've seen you speak, and I've seen you do like poetry, little smaller poetry events, and the power that you bring to your sharing and your performance it just goes beyond a poet sitting there talking. Like, you've really claimed that the power of your message and the motivation and the inspiration that you're wanting to bring. And so it's really an experience. And so you're not just asking people to pay you a bunch of money to sit up there and read your stuff. You're bringing in a powerful experience.
Definitely.
And it's worth every penny because of the fullness of you and your gift that you're bringing to the stage. And so I think that it was a brilliant way for you to do it that way. So yeah.
Definitely.
Good job.